Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Chasing Wisdom. I'm Ashton. And today I'm going to be talking about two books that I have found have been very impactful, not only in my own personal growth, but in my relationship as well. And it's a book I always recommend to everyone I meet, whether they're single or in a serious relationship or just starting out a relationship. Both books are by the same author, so I'll kind of go by one book at a time. But the two books are called The Five Love Languages and Things I Wish I Knew Before I Got Married, both by Gary Chapman. And Gary Chapman, I believe, is an anthropologist slash relationship therapist, and along his journey of traveling the world and meeting all these different people, he kind of was able to figure out common themes of successful relationships and kind of put in a book. I believe The Five Love Languages is immensely popular. I mean, it's got like thousands of reviews on Amazon, and it's just a book that's commonly bought, and I can see why. You know, I think I first heard of this book from my girlfriend and her family, and I checked it out, and it was awesome. It talks about lots of things that I think are absent in our world. You know, one of them being communicating, and I've talked about it plenty of times on this channel, how I feel like, you know, with family homes, with marriages ending and divorce 50% of the time, you know, there's a lack of communication going on. There's a lack of talking of some sort, whether it's on one person's end. Usually it's on both. I don't necessarily blame one person. But, you know, and especially if you can learn how to communicate, you know, as a successful personality trait, there's not one person you can really not get along with, you know. But anyway, I'll just talk about the five love languages first. So this book basically is what it sounds like. Chapman divides the book, and there's five different love languages he has found, and it's like acts of service, quality time, physical touch, gift giving, and then words of affirmation. And each chapter talks about one of those love languages, and then he talks at the end of it like activities you can do to kind of find out what, you know, your partner's words of affirmation are, what kind of physical touch they like, right? And what I really love about this book is it's a fun journey. And this is why I recommend it to couples especially. But, you know, if you're a single person, again, there's a lot of benefit from it. But with couples, it's fun because you can kind of guess what you think is your own love language as you're reading the book. And you kind of can guess what your partner's love language is as you're reading the book. And you kind of predict, you know, and both of you guys are reading it and you're doing the same thing. And it's just a fun little interactive book to read. And at the end of the book, you kind of take this quiz, and it helps you figure out what your love language is. And, you know, you could be surprised, you know, like both me and my partner's love language was quality time, which he talks about in the book. For men, that's pretty rare. And then he talks about, too, like how there's misconceptions on like what physical touch is. You know, physical touch for most men, they think it's like sex, you know, sexual touching, so let's just say. But he more means like holding hands, you know, hugging, things like that. I love this book. It's such a fun book. You learn so much, not only about yourself, but about your partner and then the people around you. You can start to see little things as like how they receive love. You know, you can look at other people's relationship and kind of see, you know, like maybe there's some miscommunication, or maybe someone's not getting the love language that they need. And it's just such an awesome book, and I highly recommend this book, especially if you're in a serious relationship. But if you're single, again, lots of benefits. This book, I believe, this is the main book. It's the five love languages, the secrets to love that lasts. But he's got other ones like the five love languages for men, for women, for military couples, things like that. I don't know too much about them because I haven't read it. If you guys have read it and you have read this book as well, just let me know if there is any differences or if it's pretty much the same. He just kind of talks more in detail about the target audience he was trying to hit with the book. Anyway, though, highly recommend it. I love this book. It's so fun. You know, check it out if you haven't checked it out. Now, the second book, Things I Wish I'd known before I got married. And I love this book because, especially if you are someone who is in a serious relationship or are thinking about getting married, you know, it really forces you to communicate and ask yourself certain questions and ask your spouse certain questions. Like, one of them is, you know, maybe in your spouse's family, the husband always cleaned the toilets. But in your family, your mom always cleaned the toilets. And when you get into your marriage and your home life, you know, your relationship, you're expecting the other person, so like me, my spouse, to clean the toilet. And for her, she's expecting me to clean the toilet. And no one cleans the toilet, right? And we don't want dirty toilets. I mean, toilets are pretty dirty. Bathrooms can be pretty dirty. We don't want that in the house, right? So it's just basically talking about communication. And we really need to communicate. And again, it's a lost skill, like I kind of talked about earlier. I feel like not enough people communicate. Anyway, enough about that subject. I love this book because it really forces you to ask questions, and it tells you like ways you can ask questions. Now, with this book, if there's one little tidbit I didn't necessarily like, and it's not his fault because I believe Chapman's a religious writer. I'm not for sure, don't quote me on that. I just know he alludes to it a lot in his books. Was the fact that he says you should really try to be with someone who has the same spiritual goals as you. And for me, I kind of take it as a cop-out, not because I don't think you shouldn't be with someone who doesn't have the same spiritual goals as you, but I feel like, if you limit your perspective, for example, like he talks about Christians should marry Christians, and people who believe in like the Wiccans should marry other people who believe the same thing. And to me, I just don't agree with that. I just think, if you find someone who has the same thought process as you, you're kind of limiting your perspectives. I can kind of equate it to, like, let's say you're looking for a relationship, right? And your preferences are people from the north and you live in the south. Well, very few people from the north are going to come down here. And not only that, those people from the north may not be great. And there's all these people in the south around you that are amazing people, but you would never know because your preferences are stuck on, it has to be someone from the north. And also, just because someone doesn't have the same spiritual goals as you, so for example, in my relationship, my girlfriend's Christian, I'm not a believer. But it doesn't mean I still can't help her grow spiritually, and she can't help me grow spiritually. And not only that, I've grown so much just from gaining new perspectives and getting new insights and understanding I haven't really thought of, that maybe someone from the religious side can think of, or I've also given her different perspectives, I would assume, from a non-religious side, and really kind of pushed her with her spiritual goals and beliefs and all that kind of stuff. And I just think, limiting yourself, you really are kind of closing your perspectives. And that's not to say if you need someone of the same faith to be with, there's nothing wrong with that. Just for me personally, I kind of feel it's a cop-out, or maybe a better term is I just think you limit yourself and just kind of an easier way out instead of trying to push yourself spiritually even, but other than that, great book. I love it. I highly recommend it, especially for someone who's getting ready to get married or in a serious relationship. Even if you're not, still great questions to ask yourself and be prepared for in a relationship. I'm going to be doing some more books on relationship because I've read plenty of them. Coming from my type of background with family, it's one of the main driving forces for me to be successful on my terms was to have an amazing family life, to break the cycle of separation that's happened in my family. And I know my girlfriend's also had separation in her family, and we kind of are in agreement in that goal where we just, like I come from a generation of, people in my family where it's like 2 or 3 generations of people divorcing. And I want to break that, and I've done everything in my power. I've read plenty of books, relationship-wise, out of relationship-wise, to really break that trend and that cycle. That would define me as a successful person, is if I can break that cycle and be an amazing family man and give my kids the things that maybe I never got with my family. That's my goal. And that's how I define being a successful person. Doesn't matter what I do outside of, outside of that. If I'm just some plant worker at like some mechanical farm or a mechanical plant, let's just say, but I'm great at home, I feel I'm successful in that regard. Regardless if I don't make $1 million, regardless if I don't discover the next big thing, that to me is what defines successful. And everyone has their own definition. Another thing too about this book, both these books, that and it's not these books' fault. I just want to say that first. It's not these books' fault because it's not the book's purpose. They don't necessarily talk about the sexual aspects of a relationship, and I find that huge. Especially, like I said before, marriage rates are going down. A lot of divorce is happening. A lot of relationships don't last as long. And a big part of that is the sexual relationship side. And not a lot of people talk about that. And I have plenty of books I'm going to start doing that I highly recommend that talk about the sexual side and also talk about a lot of stuff that these books both covered. and I feel actually a little bit better. But these are great books to start out with, I think. And I'll be going down further along in my channel just talking about good relationship books or books I have found beneficial in that regard. Anyway, though, leave a comment below if you read these books or haven't read these books. Just whatever you think the best relationship advice you ever got, maybe better books that you've read as well, or just your thoughts on these books by themselves. Anyway, I just want to say thank you for supporting my channel and just choosing this channel when there's so many other channels out there to choose from. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing back from you guys. Thanks.